and welcome everyone to our second webinar in the series, How to Win in a Recession. So my name is Reggie Fernandez, and my co-host for today is David Myers. David Myers and I have been working with small and mid-sized companies for a good 20 plus years. And today we are going to share with you our experience of speaking with hundreds of small and mid-sized companies in Canada and share their experience and success. So if we quickly, David, go to the next slide for the agenda for today. In today's agenda, in this 20 minutes, we are going to focus primarily on two major content. One is to give you a good insight into 4 industries and how they are coping along with this current crisis. And then David would share 3 success stories that you could learn from and deploy in your organization. And then we'll make some announcements on the next way forward and the next topic for our webinar. So let's go straight to the first industry that we have in the list, the winners and losers of the first industry. This is consumer product industry. We spoke to a few small and mid-sized companies in this sector and found out that they were moderately affected. We've seen a few companies that were highly successful and extremely busy during these sessions, while the rest were struggling. We noticed that companies who provided essential goods were much busier than before. They have seen a huge hike and spike in their demands for their products. But however, some of them have come under tremendous pressures from big retailers like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc., for insisting on prompt deliveries. However, all the companies in these industries were not that fortunate. Companies dealing with non-essential products have seen a sharp decline in their business. To add fuel to the fire, they face huge cross-border logistic challenges too. However, let me share with you what some of these companies who are the winners in this industry are doing. A couple of companies we spoke to have deployed e-commerce solutions, making themselves visible and accessible amidst these challenges to those customers to whom they had no access with. They focused on their brand and their key products availability and tried to reach out to their customers digitally. While others worked in close conjunction with their dealers and improved their shipping processes. Some even went and provided free pickup facilities and also free deliveries to their customers. This was in order to ensure that their products are flowing in the market. Now let's go to the next industry. And here we are going to speak about events and exhibitions and also some advertisement and promotional companies. Here we spoke to a few customers, and we have a few customers here, and we empathize with them and can feel their pain and sorrows and agony. For most of them, the events have been cancelled indefinitely. Some of them are optimistic that their business will be back to normal by October, November. But for most, it appears that the year 2020 is a washout. One of the companies we spoke to in the promotional item business has seen a complete slowdown of the orders for the branded jerseys and sports caps, etc., as there are no sporting events these days. The impact of COVID-19 on this industry has been severe with steep revenue losses. Contracts have been cancelled, postponed, and renegotiated. They are amidst perhaps their worst cash flow crunch ever. However, what's interestingly is we have seen some few brave hearts trying to rediscover, reignite themselves, and weather the storm. It is truly sad. When things get tough, the tough gets going. I'm pleased to share some of the measures these companies have taken to address these challenges. One of the event companies we spoke with focused on their customer loyalty, and coupled it with pre-event promos and discounts to bring in cash when it's most needed. They even went ahead and got a commitment from their few of their customers for 2021 and beyond, of course, at a good price. While another company that we spoke with focused on rediscovering and reinventing themselves. It is amazing how this company rapidly restructured itself and found new grounds to serve its customers by moving from a traditional products to one that is the need of the hour. And my colleague David will share the success story with you shortly. And finally, a company did approach us in this sector, and they have been extremely busy all these years. They found that this few slowdown and quiet months as a rare opportunity to deploy systems and processes in the organization. They always wanted to be agile and system driven, but they could never find the time to do so. In mid-March, they decided to explore an ERP solution, and today they are in the process of implementing the same. I recently spoke to the owner of this company, and he told me, Reggie, this is one of the best investment I have done during the crisis. Now let's look at the third industry, which is the industrial distribution. These are companies that deals with distribution of machinery, equipment, hardware, and consumables. We also have many customers in these industries. What we found here is that major challenge that they faced was its supply chain disruption and logistics delays, both in terms of getting the products in the country and also in ensuring its products and services were available to its customers, resellers, and dealers. Some of their customer segments were completely affected by the lockdown, while others were functioning but on a very low volume. So what did some of these companies do? Many of our customers started blending B2B and B2C in their business model. This has provided them with a new stream of revenue for their business. We also have seen another interesting development. For some of them, vendor performance and evaluation is taking a driver's seat, while for others, they are redefining distribution norms and inventory benchmarks. A few of these companies are also in the process of signing something what they call a vendor relationship agreement, which I'm told is not merely a pricing agreement, but more of a partnership agreement wherein the vendor and the customers work together and are committing themselves to achieve common goals. One of the directors of the company told me that he could not have imagined that his vendor would work with him on such an agreement prior to the crisis. A few of our customers are having a real relook at their inventory situation too. An operation manager told me recently that the just-in-time concept for inventory is enough for a major shakeup. His current focus was to ensure he has sufficient stock and to avoid shortages and stockouts. He told me that for him, the top priority was right now to ensure he's working with multiple suppliers and alternative suppliers so that he can avoid the shortages that he's currently facing with. Now let's look at the last industry and the impact of this industry, the professional services industry. Besides certain IT services, most of the professional service industries has been affected, and they have been affected very badly. This is one of the industry that was well known for its personal touch. But today, with social distancing trending these days, this industry has felt the severe impact. Most of the companies we spoke to have seen their projects on hold or cancelled and their contracts temporarily suspended. They are indeed in a severe crunch mode at this moment. I recently spoke to my friend who is in a management consulting business, and he has seen a steep decline in the engagement with his customers. He has offered some of them, is agreed to defer their fees for some of his customers to get going. However, he has realized the importance of this time and is utilizing his time to redefine his services level, taking into consideration the remote work norms. He has also invested in a knowledge-based platform and has started providing subscription-based services to the clients. He has met with reasonable success and is optimistic that things can only get better moving forward. We believe that this industry, the professional services industry, could take a lot of time to recover unless they innovate and think out of the box. We believe they need to emphasize in automating low no touch services, and they will need to see how they can be creative in using video conferencing and social media tools to attract and to retain their customers. We believe if they do so, they could not only get their business back on track sooner, but also could look at the globe or look at the business expanding globally. So with this, I would like to pass on to David Meyer for the most interesting part of this webinar, where he's going to share with you a few success stories of customers.
All right, thanks, Reggie. Good stuff. Thanks, Reggie. Yeah, let's look at some specific examples, and you'll see some of the themes that themes and trends that Reggie called out in his content. So just a quick note, these are all real stories. These are real Canadian small and medium-sized businesses that I've met with virtually during this crisis. Only the names have changed. So they're real stories. First, let's look at Stark Industries. Let me tell you about Stark Industries. So Stark Industries is a manufacturing and distribution company. They serve industrial markets across Canada, and their real main competitive advantage is their in-house custom design capability. This includes stuff like personal protective equipment for construction, for oil and gas, electrical, folks like that. So think about all of the kit that a lineman or an electrician or a rigger or somebody needs to wear to stay safe on the job. That's what they sell, and they're very good at it. So the impact for them, I spoke to the owner, Tony Stark, about how they're coping, and when the crisis hit, their orders all but stopped for a brief time. Not only that, but AR challenges were exacerbating the situation. Everybody was incredibly stressed, as you can easily imagine. So while the traditional orders had tanked, at least in the short term, Tony also couldn't fulfill new requests he was getting for medical PPE. So Tony is a pretty driven entrepreneurial kind of guy, so he decided to test the waters with some new product designs. And long story short, customers new and old were clamoring for medical PPE, not just for their own staff, but for reselling. So here's some of the things they did. So first, they committed to this medical PPE line of business and got the full team's buy-in. They established new lines of production, as you can imagine. He had to buy a machine or two and, of course, retrain staff. And he had to establish pricing and logistics very quickly to get this new product made and out the door. But look at the results. Not only did he retain all of his staff, but he's hiring in this market. And because some good companies have lost some very good people, he's bringing some fantastic new people on board. And he's got this new line of business that's going to persist long after his traditional business recovers, which it's already started doing, by the way. So I just think it's a tremendous story. Organic growth in an economic crisis, just by identifying an underserviced need and jumping on it. It's pretty inspiring stuff. Now, of course, you need real-time inventory to do that, right? You need a system to manage the whole process from design and estimation all the way to when you get paid. There's no time for duplicate entry or messing around with spreadsheets. But Tony told me that ERP is making everything easier, and it's the only thing stable in the business right now. Good stuff. All right, let's talk about Wayne Enterprises. Some quick background. So I spoke to the CEO, Bruce Wayne, a few times. You might know him by another name, Batman, Bruce Wayne, whichever you prefer. So Wayne Industries is a vertically integrated industrial services and engineering firm. They've also do some distribution and they have some assembly thrown in as well. The impact for them was a bit different. Because of COVID and the drop in oil prices, it was a real tough double whammy for their industry. Some of their suppliers were struggling to survive themselves and unable to provide product at all, or in a couple of cases, they were just completely unresponsive. And a big one for them was staff were concerned about safety, given how closely they work in consultation with their customers. They're in pretty close physical proximity when they're working on these larger projects. They're a project-based organization for the most part. Here's what they did. So good thing, they had a plan, a proof of concept beforehand to rank vendors and backup suppliers to draw on. That's something that my pal Reggie Fernandez blogged about recently, how to rank your vendors and rate them. They also established a work from home policy with appropriate digital security, just enough to keep people safe. And they already had access to ERP remotely, but they've since expanded that. And they published a safety plan, not just to their customers, but to their staff about social distancing guidelines so that everybody felt safe continuing to work on these projects. People wanted to work and customers wanted to continue with the projects, but only if it could be done so safely. And they had good results too. So they don't expect things to return to normal for probably 2 years, which I think is accurate in their industry. But check this out, 90% of their projects are still moving forward. They've got this new redundant supply chain, and they're taking time right now to tweak their ERP to get more access for people at home and in the field. So they're going to survive, and they're going to be much better positioned than their competitors to thrive as things reopen. All right, one more. Let me tell you about Acme Corporation. Yeah, their rocket-powered roller skates were recalled. I think some kind of a safety concern. We can't have anything fun. So some background, they're a young, fast-growing service provider to the construction and property industries. Their impact was brutal early on. They went from about 120 employees to fewer than 40 within the first month. They couldn't get raw materials. Most of their stuff was coming from Asia on containers, and containers that used to take 3 to 4 weeks were arriving in 3 to 4 months, or forecast to arrive in 3 to 4 months. Couple that with the departure of a pretty key cog actually on their leadership team, and the result is a pretty stressful crisis. So what they did, fortunately, their inventory system, it forecast a seasonal requirement necessary due in part to the Lunar New Year that they were anticipating. So they actually had some safety stock on hand at a time when their competitors had nothing and couldn't even get stock, and they took full advantage of that. They were able to renegotiate some payment terms with their most critical suppliers, so they protected that good work with their best trading partners by providing a new forecast that was stretched out 12 or 18 months and committing to that. They were planning an office expansion. They changed that to an expansion of their business to consumer space, which I thought was really smart. And on the B2B side, they won some nice new contracts from some less organized competitors. And they added lots of new products to e-commerce. And look at their results. So they've rehired most of their critical staff that they've gotten back. And they're forecasting close to 100% of pre-COVID revenue, but with fewer staff permanently. It's fantastic. They've got these new B2B customers which are giving them better margins, and on the B2C side, they've got new selling capacity, not just on site, but online as well. So I think it's important to think about, what do these companies have in common? What do Wayne Enterprises and Acme and Stark all have in common? Well, first of all, they've got a fully integrated system with access to real-time data across the entire organization. They've got rid of manual processes, and they don't have critical data stuck in a single spreadsheet. They've got real-time inventory and CRM, customer relationship management, so they can take advantage of buying and selling opportunities when they see them, and every single one of them has done that. And they've got integrated e-commerce and or remote access capabilities, so their staff can work from wherever they happen to be when they're quarantined. All right, before we open up for questions, I just want to talk about our next webinar, and then Reggie's going to provide some comments on the way forward. So our next webinar, you don't want to miss this one. Lisa Seppala, she's from True North Implementation. She's going to be helping us put together a playbook for getting back to business safely and trying to position your company as a leader in your industry. I mean, it's something you need to do anyway, so why not join us for some free consulting from a bona fide expert? She's a good speaker. It's going to be a fun and informative session, so don't miss out. We'll see you next week for that. So before we see if there's any questions, folks, I'm just going to give it to Reggie for some remarks on the way forward. Reggie?
Thanks, David. So based on this feedback that we've got, and we would like to share with you 3-4 points that you need to consider as you look at your business and the way forward. We believe working from home will be the new norm. So get yourself organized and see what areas and how you could leverage this opportunity to optimize your work from home resources. Another key element is to adopt and blend technology to minimize touch and human-based business models. Through technology and video conferencing, we have seen today a lot of changes happening, and business is getting back to normal with interactions and more meetings. At least we see that happening here with us at Project Line, where we have at least 3 to 4 meetings, video meetings every day, interacting with customers and prospects and our staff members. Also, look at, as David mentioned, look at multiple sales channels today, from B2B to B2C. If you are serving locally, try to grow across regions. So this is a great time to expand and multiply multiple streams of income for your business. And finally, we believe we need to focus on accelerating digital transformation and getting ourselves to marketing age. Again, to summarize what David mentioned, that the company was able to emerge much stronger because it had some systems in place to reignite itself and to retransform itself to the new challenges, etc. So look at technology as your partner towards success as you move forward.